Hello, everyone, and welcome to Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays with me, life coach Miss Starr. And every Tuesday I am super excited because it gives me and a guest, a worthy woman filled with wisdom, a chance to inspire you, encourage you. We want you to feel therapeutic after, renewed and refreshing, and to get closer to Jesus. We here for it because he paved the way right here on Red Media Radio. And I'm excited for this guest. And Shanika, would you please introduce yourself to our awesome audience?
Hi, audience. My name is Shanika Torres. I am a licensed professional counselor. I've been a therapist 9 years now. Doesn't feel like it, but it's gone by. I specialize in relationship coaching, relationship advice and things like that. Anxiety, depression, life transitions, burnout, that sort of thing. So I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to share what knowledge that I do have, and hopefully, help some of you guys find love in the love department.
Yes, Shanika, thank you so much for appearing on Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays podcast. And how are you feeling this Tuesday?
I feel good. Just coming off of vacation, so it's like you're easing on into things. So I'm like, yeah, I'm still on vacation vibes, like the background that you got. So yeah.
We want to give that when we're talking about love. You want to think of love like on water, nice moving sailing. So this is what this conversation is going to be about.
Listen, we adults. I might talk about some things that people, make sure the kids out the room now.
Yes. Adult time. Y'all know, go ahead and grab your tea and get ready. And Shanika is a digital creator. She is a PhD student, a relationship coach. She's a therapist. She has so many great things to talk about. So we're gonna jump right in. And the name of this episode for Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays podcast is Flipping the Script to Create Healthy Relationships. And Shanika, we're gonna dive right and we're gonna get straight to the tea. Dating. A lot of people have questions about dating. Shanika, what are some early conversations you should have in dating?
Well, first of all, when it comes to dating, you hopefully you're in a space to date, and before you even jump in, like hopefully you are healed and really open to being able to be in a companionship with somebody else to learn about them. When it comes to asking questions, you both have to be on the same page. What happens is people jump into dating situations with this end goal of this is going to be my person. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on what really could be something light and fun that can grow into something meaningful. You definitely want to make sure that if you are dating for something serious, that's established right up front, because this is what I learned when I was dating. People have different definitions of dating. There is exclusive dating, and that's where when you and that person are just, you guys aren't seeing anybody else, but you guys are exclusively, kind of seeing where things are going. There's casual dating where you're doing your thing, they're doing their thing. You guys, meet up, once a week, to go out to dinner or hang out at a movie or things like that. That may or may not include intimacy, but it's casual. There's no commitment and no expectation of commitment either. And then you have kind of like, it's not exclusive, but it's kind of like you enjoy the person's companionship. So you just kind of park it, so you got to make sure that you are having those conversations early and often. Because I remember, so after my divorce, I remember I dated this gentleman and I was still dating other people. And I remember he had called me one day, and typically I was available. And this particular day he had called me and I didn't answer. I was on a date. And so he had asked me later on, like, oh, hey, like I called you, you didn't answer. Like, were you okay? I said, oh yeah, I was out. And he's like, who are you out with? Because normally I'm very forthcoming with information, like, oh, I went out with my cousin, or, oh, I went out with my friends. I was just like, I was out, like, and I think he picked up on that, and he's like, out where? And I didn't want to lie. I was like, I was on a date. He said, oh, I'm confused. I'm not really sure what's going on here, because he had let me know right up front, like, I'm not entertaining anybody else. I'm only talking to you. And I thought that was just him providing unsolicited information. Thanks. Duly noted, sir. But let let me keep on pushing. But I didn't know that that was his way of establishing, like, I want to park it here. And I think he thought I was going to park it there with him as well. Now, because I liked him and I appreciated his company, I was willing to not date anyone else in order to, be exclusive with him. But it started to get a little gray when we were dating for 9 months exclusively. And at this point, 9 months exclusively, you're seeing it starts feeling a little more romantic. And at this point, you're feeling like you love this person. And so it's like, okay, I can't really love a person I'm just dating, And so by that time, it was, I think I was starting to ask questions. So we're exclusive, but we're not boyfriend and girlfriend. He's like, no. And I was like,
wow.
Okay. Like in my mind, I'm like, so now, right, hindsight being 2020, I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would do that again. Like, be exclusive with somebody and I'm not in a committed relationship. I just feel like that takes me off the market before I'm ready to be taken off the market, or it takes me off the market when I'm dating exclusively, but someone can't commit to me like that. That to me is a red flag right there. So be cautious about that, ladies and gentlemen. Like, make sure you guys are all on the same page. Make sure you both have an understanding. Sometimes, don't ask, don't tell. That's a policy too. You guys are just doing your own thing. And if no one's pushing the conversation forward, that's okay too. But just be prepared with an answer if they ask, like, what are we? Yeah. And you want to ask, here's the other thing. You want to, for me as a woman, I'm super, super cautious about who I let in my space, who I let in my house. So I'm going to be honest with you, like, ask about criminal backgrounds, ask about those type of things. I got people on deck. I think everyone should have somebody on deck that can do a background check. And those things don't cost nothing but nothing. So being able to do a quick background check. I'm actually dating someone right now off top. He was like, listen, I'm gonna let you know right now. This first conversation, he was like, I've been to prison. I'm like, okay. PhD student, higher echelons, and he's coming at me because he was attractive. Like, I didn't know what this man was. I was just saw an attractive person. He's like, he's like, I've been to prison. I've been shot. I'm a former gang member. I was like, oh, okay. Like, now he tells me this is 20 years ago. So I was appreciative of his forthcomingness, but I'm still going to do my due diligence. So can you imagine when I found out, doing a background check, that it checked out? I was relieved. It wasn't new information. It was confirmation. So that's another thing I would definitely say. Like, too many times people are letting people around, their family or their kids, you got to do those background checks, especially if you're a young lady, like, definitely do that.
Oh, Shanika, I love that. You mentioned really great points. One of them, the first point you said off the rip, is you should be in a mindset and a space to date. You are so right. You need to be healed prior to dating and know who you are. I love that. You kicked it off with right there. And I agree with you, sis, 150%.
Yeah, that's experience though. That came from experience, because I read a quote that said, hungry people make poor shoppers. And it's the same thing when it comes to relationships. If you are not fulfilled in and of yourself, you're going to grab whatever comes at you thinking that that's a meal, and it's not.
Right.
And then as people start breadcrumbing you, you're going to convince yourself like, this is so good. This is so filling. And it's like, no, they're being inconsistent. They're lying to you. They're making you feel confused with their mixed emotions or their mixed messaging. So, when you are filled in of yourself, you cut people off because you're like, this is not acceptable. And that goes back to boundaries, but we're going to talk about that later.
Yes, I love it. Thank you too. You really broke down. There are different types of dating. Like you mentioned, being in a monogamous dating, if it's exclusive between you and the other person, but you also mentioned casual, or you also mentioned more like a companionship. I'll see you once a week. That's awesome too, audience. Make sure you know what you are. That was pivotal. I love what you said. Even though the guy had been to prison and it had been 20 years ago, I love honesty. How important is honesty, Shanika, in dating?
That was the first. I'm gonna be honest. That was the first time someone came out the gate. This is this. And I'm gonna be honest. If that information had been on a dating profile, I probably would have been like, next wife. But when somebody like you're already kind of interested in, like, lets you know right up front, like, listen, I just want to put this out there so there's no surprises. It was refreshing. It was like, Oh, like, cause I mean, we all have a past. I don't care
Yes.
what, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were not always the people that we are today, you know, and please get off your high horse if you think that, you know, like someone having a past is a deal breaker. I'm not saying you set your boundaries, but at the end of the day, you are possibly missing out on a really great person who's already learned from their mistakes, moved forward, you know, productive member of society, you know. Those are things, you know, that become more meaningful, and we'll talk about that in a second, because that's values, and those are also things you should be asking when you are starting to date somebody. What's important to you? Somebody can be like, yeah, I you know, success is important to me, ambitious is important to me. Those are values. Personalities shift. Values are pretty hardcore. So if somebody's not ambitious, that's probably not just gonna, the switch is not gonna flip on, you know, right away, or in the future. They have to already have that value. So oftentimes people are trying to, particularly women, we think we can change a man. Now you can't change a man, but honey, you can train him. That's in my
difference.
But yeah, you got to ask about values. You got to ask what's important, you know, so that you guys can make sure you guys are on the same page. Now, this is something I learned, and probably a lot of people don't talk about this. Most people get together because they have similar values. What usually breaks down in a relationship, or makes a relationship break down, is the order, or the hierarchy of those values. So let's say you have somebody who you get with each other because you both value family, you both value success, and you both value maybe love, right? And that works until you are placed in a position where you have to decide which one is more important. So let's say you get with somebody as a woman that your values, you know, are all aligned, and your partner says, hey, I got this amazing job opportunity in New York. You're in Houston, Texas. And they're like, I want you to move with me. If your number one value is love, you're going to pack up everything you got going and you're going to move on over there.
Right.
However, if your number one value is success and you already have an established business, that's going to be a lot more difficult to just uproot yourself. Love is important, but is it more important than the business and things that I'm already doing in my own space? That's kind of where things get a little, you know, tricky. So you got to make sure your values are, you know, that they mesh, right? Because somebody's got to be successful, you know, so you just got to understand, like, am I willing to move for love, you know, or am I, you know, still, is success important to me and I want someone to value love more than they value their career?
I love it. I love that you said too, it depends on how they prioritize it. So I always say have and value, right? If person prioritize other person's like success, and timing is important too. Oh, audience, I hope y'all got your tea, your drinking journals, because Shanika dropping some seeds.
Y'all gotta be ready. Listen, people be like, Shanika, what did you say the last time? I'd be like, listen, I was just moving in the spirit. I couldn't tell you what I just said 10 seconds ago. So hopefully you guys are writing this stuff down. Get while it's hot.
I love it. Yes, moving in the spirit. I also, Shanika, too, we talked about the healing and pivotal. I love what you said. Background checks are so important to our awesome, we're going to call this our awesome, healthy relationship audience. But I've also someone that I was dating and they wanted to come over for dinner. And I'm like, hey, let's do a background check. And everything checked out. Like, he had told me some things. He had a child. So I think it's very important if you, and I would say this to someone that you're really interested in, but a background check, especially for women, and you start inviting them in your space when you're to that point, I think it's a great idea. So thank you, Shanika, because I think it's important. And like you said, for the mothers out there, you bringing someone around your child when you feel comfortable, you can't go wrong with a background check. And it also lets you know, like you said, is everything checking out, or is there something that you want to tell me? And that's important.
Absolutely, sure is.
Let's pivot, because you started to bring up what are some awesome questions to ask during the dating phase, especially Shanika, over I would say within the first 3 months span. What are some important questions to ask?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to know, like, what are your, like, do you have a 5-year plan, or what are your plans for the future? So you can kind of get a sense of like whether you guys are on the same page. They don't have to be, where you want them to be today, but are they heading in the direction that's going to align with where you're headed? Is a trajectory, the same? You definitely want to ask about kids. If you have kids, you want to know what their sentiments are. Some people don't mind dating women with kids, but they don't necessarily want to end up in long-term relationships or be step parents. Like that's what I also found. People love you, but they don't also always want to come in and be a father figure. So those are questions you definitely want to ask, and if they're open to kids, or as far as like, do they want kids, and are you done having kids? Those are questions too, because sometimes people come in with kids and you just assume like, oh, they're done, and they're like, actually I kind of want one more. So you got to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to kids. Family dynamics are important. I like to kind of get a sense though, so what's your relationship with your family like? Because how they are with their family is very telling. Now, it's not to say that people don't have unhealthy backgrounds and they have for their own, wellness, they have to cut those people off. But, you kind of get a sense of like, if everybody, they don't got no friends, they don't talk to their family, you start looking like, well, the common denominator here is you, my friend. So if all these people are bad,
right.
I'm just saying those are things to look. I had went on a date with somebody. I was asking him a lot of questions. He was a police officer. And I was asking him questions like, oh, so like you have kids, his kids live with the mom. I was like, oh, like how often do you get your kids? He's like, well, I told them that they could come to me, but they chose not to. So, he would have this very like they're lost type situation. I'm thinking like, but those are your, those are your kids. If you want to see your kids more, like make it happen,
Right.
Yeah. And he was like, I don't have a whole lot of friends. And I was like, oh, what is your relationship with your parents? He's like, I don't talk to my mom, and I definitely don't talk to my dad. I was like, oh, okay. So you kind of just start getting a sense of person. So asking them about like their family dynamics, faith. If you're a person of faith that unequally yoked, it's not always a deal breaker, but in some way, shape, or form, it becomes a factor. And so, sometimes people assume that they're going to be able to convert the person that they're dating. Again, we know people in interfaith relationships, all the time. So it's not to say that it can't work, but it depends on how flexible both sides are. Some people will want you to convert to theirs and they don't mind about yours now, but when we get married, I want you to convert to mine, and you have to be willing to do that. Those are important dynamics to ask for sure. Location, are you always, this is where you're going to be? Because some people are like, yeah, in the future, I want to move to Antarctica. And if you're not trying to move to Antarctica, that's not going to go, like you with somebody 5 years thinking that their plans are going to change. And they're like, no, I told you 5 years from now, I'm going to move to Antarctica. I already moved in that direction. You say you were okay with it. Now you now your feet being held to the fire. You realize you weren't about Antarctica from the beginning because you thought they were just like talking smoke dreams. No, you gotta ask them, where you plan on being, and are you flexible, with moving that. So yeah, those are definitely some prime ones.
I love that because it's the foundation of who the person is, their faith, their family dynamics, where they want to go in the future. And it sets the tone, because dating doesn't always have to be a long term. You could find somebody say, I think that we'll be better as friends, but being honest and finding out that early in the beginning, especially before feelings get heavy or anything, is extremely important. Extremely important. So audience, make sure you ask those questions and just be honest. It's supposed to be for you to enjoy. I remember, Shanika, someone said that the dating is like an interview process.
It is. It is. You're constantly interviewing until it becomes official. You're constantly interviewing, to get inside that person's head to see if they're going to be a good fit for what it is that you want. If your end game is a relationship. And there's other people that have, like, I have learned there's different type of relationships that people want. Are you polyamorous? Are you ethical, non-commitment, where everybody just understands, like, I'm going to do my thing, but we are a unit, or you have your person, I have my my person, like there's just so many different types of love, you know, that people that aren't aware of and people don't talk about. So you kind of got to get an understanding of what it is. And I think, especially when people that often step out, I think that those people in general are probably more you know, polyamorous, or the need to be with other people is already there, but because our societal beliefs and values that we're told this is how you should have one person and in a monogamous relationship, I feel like that goes against the grain of who people are at their core, and that's what causes them to step out. They still do want their primary person, but I think they're fighting against those values. Same thing with sexuality. You know, if we're talking about it, some people feel like I need to be with a man and a woman, and they have other desires, but because societal values say that those things are wrong, they push against that, and then they're wondering why they're unhappy in their relationship. So, you know, that's the other thing. Sexual incompatibility. Some person might want it more often than the other person, and the other person may think that, okay, well, they're going to calm down and it'll work out. Or the other person's thinking like, okay, well, they're going to tune up and it's going to work out. But no, everybody has like a different sexual desire level. And when people don't have those conversations, it relationships are ruined. I can't tell you how many people come to couples therapy because they're not getting their needs met sexually, and being able to they're afraid to have open conversations about what's not working, which it kind of blows your mind. You're having intimate relationships. This is your person that you've identified you want to be in a committed relationship with, but yet you can't have open dialogue about sex and what's working and what's not working. And problem solving about what that looks like. So yeah, there's definitely, that's why I'm getting certified in sex therapy, because I'm just learning so much. I'm like, you know, just go ahead and add this on there because people need to be having these conversations, and you know.
Like you said, it's important and it's essential. I love it. And congratulations to you. I think that will be awesome. Shanika, everything you say, I agree with. And I want to say to our healthy relationship audience, we are in 2023. And I want to, the word that I got for this year was drive. And I want to drive y'all, if you are dating and trying to find the one, that person, be honest. Shanika and I picked up on it. Just be honest with that person, so we can be good. Just be honest from the front. That's like the core of it. Be honest. So a person has a choice.
Yeah. I think what happens is people get scared because they really do. I don't think, for the most part, I like to believe that people have like a desire to be with a person. And I think they really like, oh, I don't want to lose this one, but I kind of want this one over here too. And it's not fair, you know, to the person who thinks that they're the only one you're entertaining. However, I think that's where it comes from. It comes from a place of lack. I don't know if I'm going to get somebody else, so let me hold on to this one right here. So that's why people need to be healed and in a really good spaces by themselves before they entertain dating. And if that is what they want, they need to be open and honest about it. So that hurt feelings, you know, are avoided.
Yes. Oh, audience, we are in the healing, what I'm going to call it, series of Therapeutic Tea Tuesdays podcast. We're going to call it the Pill to Heal. And Shanika, let's dive deep into like healthy boundaries,
Yes.
external influence, all of those important things. You mentioned being healed. What does, prior to, before that, you're thinking about dating, you're thinking about, especially for those, you know, you want to get married, what does healing look like first and foremost, Shanika, before you start dating?
Yeah, healing to me, as I've been on my own healing journey, it means being at peace with yourself.
Yes.
No, you don't need a person. You can sleep comfortably by yourself. You don't have a pining to be, you know, in a relationship or whatnot. You genuinely are okay by yourself. If someone comes along, great. If not, you're good. You're good. And it takes a lot to be in that space. You know, it takes a lot of healing to just be okay by yourself.
Yes.
Healing to me looks like learning what you like and what you don't like. So many times people try to get their fulfillment in other people because they genuinely don't know who they are at their core. You have to know who you are, have such a sincere connection with yourself that you know your yes is your yes and your no is your no, because you're like, that's incongruent with my value. And I've had to, you know, go through the whole dating experience. And that's, I feel like it's one thing to learn about dating and relationship stuff as a therapist. It's another thing to go through it by, as you know, as an individual.
Yes.
To say like, oh, this works a little different, you know? And so for me, being able to be comfortable with no's, I've shot my shot at men who didn't reciprocate, you know, like, hey, you know, and I'm not an overt person, but I definitely let the interest be known. And so when people leave me on red, I'm like, understood. My feelings are hurt. But you know how many people would take that rejection as that there's something wrong with them? No, not my person. No love lost. Thanks. You know, thanks. They understood. No answer is an answer. Learning what you want and what you don't want. If you know, we people say, oh, I have non-negotiables. I think depending on the person, your non-negotiables may be a little flexible, but even still, you should still have a good ideal of what's not going to work for you.
Yes.
You know, somebody to me that's like dishonest, that's not going to work for me, because I'm so honest about things. So if somebody, you know, was deceptive, or if somebody was in lying by omission, is still lying.
Right.
So, yeah. So if you happen to leave out the fact that you have a wife, you know, which I went on a date with a man who was on the dating side, and as soon as I saw him, an attractive man, I'm holding his hand 2 seconds into like meeting, like it's like there was definitely chemistry, and we're walking, we're talking, and we're sitting in the lounge or whatever cases, and he's like, so tell me about yourself, and you know, we're having a casual conversation, and he lets me know he has a 2 and a 1 year old, and I'm doing the math. I'm like, 2 and 1.
Right.
That's a little young. I mean, that's out the womb. Practically. I'm like, oh, so you're divorced? And he's like, nope. His words, not mine. He's like, nope, I'm Muslim. I can have 4 wives.
Oh, right.
Well, I'm not, respectfully, and I don't date married men. Okay,
Right.
like that's not me. That's not my thing.
Yep.
And had he let that be known on his profile, it would handsome man, swipe left, or get rid of him. But you get what I'm saying? You tell me on the date when I've already met you and we're already kind of cozy.
Right.
So that's a mission.
I agree with you, because that's not who I am. I'm a Christian. I don't want to be with a married man. But like you said, it's the honesty for me. Be upfront. And I love what you said. Healing is knowing who you are and being happy with who you are. Shout out to you, Shanika, for also stepping up to a guy and saying, hey, what's good? Ain't no love lost. Because like you said, that person, they not gonna let you go. And I love that, because when I was healing, and we're gonna get into it, I went to therapy, took myself off social media websites, all of them, and for a year spent time really just praying and just healing. And healing is a lifelong journey, but you got to know when you're ready to do that. So that way you could come into that relationship, the dating phase, courting, some people say, as well, healthy and whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no pressure. I feel when you're not in a healed space, there's almost this pressure to get a commitment, because it makes you feel secure. But when you're secure by yourself, you don't need that rush. You let things unfold as they unfold, and when it's time to go, because it's not a good fit, then you go. And there's no negotiations with yourself. There is no, you know, oh well, maybe they'll grow. Too often we date people for their potential instead of dating them for who they are showing us to be.
Yes.
If that man has a drug problem when you meet him, what do you want to do? Well, if we can just get him in rehab and clean him up a little bit, he'll be a great guy. And then he does go to rehab and he does clean up. But guess what? A year or so later, he's back, you know, on drugs.
Right.
Because you wanted him to get his life together. You know, it wasn't about what he wanted or what he was ready for. And I understand that relapse is part of recovery. I get all that. What I'm saying is, too often we try to make somebody into who we see them to be, and they don't see that for themselves.
Yes.
The guy who struggles to keep a job, you get him a job at your job, hoping that that's going to keep him stable. And what happens? Every time you turn around, this guy, something's wrong. He can't keep a job. Well, when you met him, he couldn't keep a job.
They gotta want to do it for themselves. It's better if they say, "Hey, I'm not ready yet. Let me get myself together, and then I'll give you a call." That's when, and if they do it, then you know, okay, this is for them. But if you gotta take somebody, clean, wash them up, and clean them up, you best to believe in a year or two, it's gonna come back.
Exactly. Because you're like, well, this looks nice. Let's just
Right.
let's just dust them off real quick, try to make it look nice and together. Like, no, ma'am, no, sir. Like, and I had a guy friend of mine, he's like, men and women do different things. If a guy sees a woman, he's like, you know what, she's a good girl, I'm gonna see how things go. Like, they're not like, man, she's a great girl, but if she could lose weight, she'd be good. She's a good girl, but she can get a job, she'd be. No, men don't do that, women do that.
Yes.
We always try to fix somebody, save somebody, repair somebody. Like, no, let them come healed, whole, and ready.
Right. I love it. Shanika, another important thing, you've actually did some talks on this. What are some reasons men come back after a breakup? I think it's so important, and then we're gonna get into that section to help you recognize things. But
listen, I'm not a man, right? I'm not a man. This my content and information about why men come back after a breakup, this is from my male audiences. So reasons men come back include some of the following. Because you let them. Okay, men come back because you let them. They know the ones that they can try. They know the ones that they done blew it and they no longer have access. So they start off with a, hey, how you been? And it's been months, years sometimes, and they circle back around because they know the ones that they could just pull it on your heartstrings. Men also come back because the relationship or the person that they wanted didn't work out. So now they going back through the Rolodex. Look at your maids, the Rolodex. Now they're going back through their phone and they're like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while. I just got a message from somebody I haven't talked to since January of last year, talking about, hey, happy new year. How was your new year? I blocked them immediately. Why are you on my phone? Mm-hmm. We have nothing in common. And the last time I messaged you, I'm looking at the old messages, we had went on one date and you were like, I'd like to explore what gets you going sexually. We're done here, sir.
Good for you.
We just had one date. So you're back on my phone. Why?
Right. Good for you. Let it go. Thank you.
Hard pass for that. Men also come back, because it has a lot to do with familiarity. They already know you. They know the song and dance, and so they're coming back for the comfortability. Not because they've done anything different, not because they've worked on themselves, and they're in a better position. That's how we hope that they come back, and that's the smoke dream that they tell us. But right. When someone is in a different place. Those ones. And yes. Sometimes you do have to let people go in order for them to grow, and then they have to, they're able to come back. So it's not that it doesn't happen at all, but that is just such a small percentage, the damage is often already done in that relationship. Right. So it's really hard to be like, okay, well, let's start fresh. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it just makes it a lot more challenging because you're still remembering the things that you went through in the past. So that's definitely another reason. Sometimes men come back for sex, they really don't care to be committed, but you guys have already exchanged fluids at some point, and so it makes it a lot easier for them to kind of slide on back in. And we have our own contingency. Well, it's not a new partner, we don't want our numbers to go, well, it's not a new person, I've already been with them before. So it's like we negotiate for ourselves, like why we let them back in. But yeah, like there's so many reasons, but at the end of the day, people only do what you allow. So we got to set those boundaries.
I love it. You said some pivotal things. The first one kicked it off because you allow them. So if even if you've been with someone you want, 9 times out of 10, if they're out of your life, it's for a reason. Let it go. I also want to say tips, ladies, and I've done this when I've been involved in a toxic relationship, is I changed my phone number. I wasn't even playing no games.
That was deep.
What? You know when it's that time, but just or like you said, block them off social media, but just know who you are. I love that, Shanika, just being honest, but being honest. If they not for you, let it go, but it's what you allow. And if you keep allowing that door to keep opening, it's a little crack, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down.
Seriously.
Shanika, I want to talk about healthy boundaries.
Yes, let's talk about it.
We talked about men trying to come back. What are some healthy boundaries to put in when you're dating, when you're in a relationship? What are some healthy boundaries?
This is probably one of my favorite subjects to talk about because for myself, I had to set boundaries. I was with somebody for 3 years, and when I tell you I had the poorest boundaries with this person because I didn't want to say anything that was going to upset them. I didn't want to say anything that was going to scare them away. I didn't want to say anything. It was always about their needs. And I remember feeling like I was suffocating in a relationship that was a relationship by title, but there was no observable evidence to show that this was a relationship. 3 years, hadn't met his family. 3 years, I would see him maybe once every other month. I've been to his house. So some people are like, oh, he was married. No, I've been to his house. His mom lived with him. That was a problem in and of itself. So in my mind, I had such poor boundaries that I allowed him to do a lot of things that I would absolutely not allow nowadays. So to set boundaries, we have to first understand what boundaries are. Boundaries are values. That things that are important to you. And when you know what your values are, and this is what happens, people don't know what their values are. So they let anything go. Once you know what your boundaries are, that becomes your baseline. That becomes your non-negotiable. So let's say over here, you want a healthy relationship. That's your boundary, healthy relationship. If somebody is giving you inconsistent messages, if somebody is being dishonest with you, if somebody is, like hurting you or harming you, you have to ask yourself, based upon my value of wanting to have a healthy relationship, does this person move in the direction of that or further away?
Yes.
Closer to or further away. And when you know that they're not moving you in the direction of what your healthy boundary is, what your value is, then you got to let them go. Because the last person I was with, he wasn't a bad guy. This was not somebody that was hurtful to me, in the gun smoking kind of way, right? Like there was no cheating, there was no abuse. This was just somebody who wasn't ready to commit at the level I needed them to commit to. Good person overall, but not my person.
Right.
So even though I loved him, because love is a value of mine, I loved him, and yes, he moved me in the direction of love, but not in the direction of a healthy relationship. And I love the value of healthy relationship more than I love the value of love.
Yeah.
So being able to have I think most people have a hard time setting boundaries because they don't have the language to set their boundary. They don't know what to say, so they don't say anything at all. I'm going to give you guys some language today. I hope you guys got pens and papers today.
Yes.
To have the language about what it is that you should say. So when somebody does something to you, like, hey, let's say you find somebody that is constantly just I don't know, they're inconsistent. That one day they pop up, the next day that hey, I'm going to come over, and then you wait all day and then they don't show up. That person, being able to just say to them, you know what, this doesn't work for me. Okay. That's something you can say to a person. If you've decided, if there's something within you that's like, yeah, I don't know if this person is for me. Cause we've all been there. We're like, I don't know. I mean, they're okay, but I don't know if they're, I don't know. That feeling of, I don't know, that's probably a no. Okay. If it's not a hard yes, then it's a no. So even if you said okay, I want to make this work, or I want to try to get together, because we'll tell ourselves, well, if it doesn't work, we'll just break up. No. Don't even put yourself in that situation. It's uncomfortable. Just let them know, I decided not to move forward romantically with you at this time. And that was a good one I had to learn, because I would go on these dates with people and I didn't know how to let them down, so I would ghost them. I hated the doing that, but I remember I didn't know what to say. And it wasn't until I got ghosted. When I tell you, I went back to every single person I had ever ghosted and I gave them an explanation why I ghosted them, because I hated I did not like that feeling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this how people feel? Because you're talking to someone, you're thinking something's going, and all of a sudden nothing, absolutely nothing. And they would text me, hey, are you still there? I wouldn't say nothing. hey, I hope I didn't say anything. And I just didn't feel anything romantically, and I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything at all. And it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It is okay to say to somebody, I don't see us moving forward romantically.
Yes.
Don't even allow yourself to put in that the softball of, but we can be friends. No, you cannot be friends. Would this person be somebody you would be friends with on a regular basis had you guys not gone on a date? So no, don't even, like, to me, like, to tell someone we can be friends is like this softball way of letting them down. Just rip the Band-Aid. I don't see us moving forward romantically. It's been nice meeting you.
Right.
End of story. And you know how many people appreciated me telling them that versus just leaving them ghost? Now, people followed up. I've had people like, can you let me know if there was something I could improve on? And I'm like, well, because sometimes, there's sensitive things that I don't feel comfortable telling them,
Right.
And so somebody was overweight, like significantly, not even a little bit. And I just remember like not feeling comfortable telling them, like, actually, it's your weight, and I went on. They had a fantastic personality, but I know me. I know that I like to work out, and I know that's a value that I want in my partner as well. And the fact that that wasn't a value of theirs, I didn't, I didn't see it moving forward. So just being able to leave it at that, feel free to, once you say you don't feel forward moving romantically, just let them know, it was great meeting you. I had a good time, nothing you can do differently. I'm just, we're not moving forward. Letting them know, like, and especially sometimes people, you go on dates with people and they push you to, be more intimate than you're ready to be. Let them know, I don't want to do that.
Good. That's good.
Or if you do want to do it and you're just not ready, not at this time. And they may ask you, why? Come on, why? Not at this time. I'm not ready for that. And being able to let them know, especially if they continue pushing that, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. When we don't have the language, it allows people to kind of get in and maneuver and manipulate us. There's something called a tell. We all have tells, right? That's how salespeople know who they can freaking get a sell from and who they can't, because we all have tells. Well, I don't know. Well, just listen, 5 more minutes, ma'am. 5 more minutes of your time. Give her 5 more minutes. And 5 more minutes. You know what? It's for today only. It's for today only. This is a deal of a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So they already know who they can get a potential sell at. So when it comes to setting boundaries, not only is it important to have the language, you also have to have the body language as well, right? Verbal and nonverbal. Yes. To tell somebody, oh, not at this time, right? Does that sound like a confident person that your yes is your yes and your no is your no? No, your no sounds like a maybe. So this isn't acceptable. Oh, baby, but come on, please. That being able to say, this is not acceptable. Stare them down. Yes. It's okay. Hold their gaze. Yes. Yeah, I can't do that right now. I'm not comfortable with this. This doesn't work for me. All those wonderful words, and it's important to use to look at your tone. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to yell. You don't have to curse. You don't have to put them down. Just being able to be assertive and firm. And the other thing I always tell people, if you're going to set a boundary, try to think about it ahead of time. To set a boundary in a moment and you've never set a boundary in your life, it's going to be really hard to follow through. I'm just going to let you know right now. Right. So I had to practice before I had to set a few boundaries. I had to plan. I had to I don't see us moving forward romantic. I don't see us moving forward romantically. This is unacceptable. Please don't do that. I had to get hand gestures, everything. Please don't do that. Not okay. I love it. Practice what it is that you're going to say. Now, understand that some things may be you're going to compromise, in some cases, but depending on the relationship dynamics, like maybe it's like, yeah, no, I don't want you paying for my meal. That's not okay for me. Like, I will pay for my own meal. I can get us next time. That's a compromise, but have the language, have the body language, have the tone, be assertive, communication, verbal and nonverbal. People know who they can push.
love it, because especially for women, sometimes we let things slide, and I've been guilty of this too, when there's red flags in the beginning and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to sweep it, and it's just like, no, we if a no is a no, if it's unacceptable, because it's not going to get any better, they're just going to pressure you. And you are so right, practicing saying no, understanding your morals and values. Audience, yeah, our healthy relationship audience, y'all heard Shanika. Go ahead and take them notes, and your no is your no, it's unacceptable, and don't go outside of who you are.
They will survive. They will be okay. They will not die if you set a boundary. They'll be okay.
And you're gonna be awesome. Shanika, we gonna do a quick thing. Let us know, and I'm gonna say not, because they might have to be a little bit more than words, but let's say 3 or be short words. 3 things toxic relationship, 3 things healthy relationship.
3 things toxic relationship. When they don't allow you to set boundaries, when they are inconsistent, when they gaslight you into thinking that your boundaries or your requests, for healthy relationship dynamics are unrealistic or too much. Healthy relationships, honesty, transparency out the gate. That the conversation goes both ways. You don't feel like it's just you talking about you all the time. They're just as curious about you as you are about them. And they make time. Right? We make time for things that are important, and we make excuses for things that are not. And as I say these things, that I'm thinking about the man that I'm dating, I'm like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but I feel pretty good about it.
Well, sis, I'm rooting for you and praying for you on this end over here, child, because I can relate to it, because I'm also a divorcee. So how we had that time to heal, it is a phase, but God is so amazing. So I'm praying and rooting for you over here on this end.
Thank you. I see him tomorrow. So
you gotta tell him, say, babe, I was on this podcast and I brought you up.
I'm gonna talk to him afterwards, so I'm gonna be like, I mentioned you. And your transparency.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you gotta see her face, because she over here. So shout out to that guy. Hey, now I had to throw that in there. Let me find out. We creating the healthy relationships over here on this podcast. God is good.
Yes, definitely.
So audience, y'all heard Shanika. Y'all know what to look for if it's toxic and if it's a healthy relationship, creating those boundaries. So we going into the healthiness now, Shanika. How do you know if someone or some qualities, someone is the one or that person? Or I love what Latera said in Dear Future Wife, you can find a spouse, but I like what he said, a purpose partner. So whether you say spouse, purpose partner, the one, the guy, how do you know, Shanika?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you have to have a pretty good idea beforehand. So after my last relationship, I wrote a letter called Dear Future Husband. And people talk about, have a list. And I had a list before. When I tell you this man checked off every box in that list, the ex that I had, I realized I needed to be a little more specific with the list. It wasn't enough just to have bullet points. Like I needed to write like a letter, like Dear Future Husband, like, we haven't met yet, but I know that you will arrive when God deems that you are ready. I know that you are going to be, a man of God, and, that you're going to have healthy relationships, not just with your family, but people who you deem close like family. I know that you are going to be a leader, and you're just not going to be a person that talks about it. Like you embody that, physically, mentally, spiritually. I just remember just like being so specific about like Dear Future Husband, basically saying like the reason why everybody else didn't work out is because I was meant to be, with a man of God, sent by God, was essentially, how I ended the letter. But yeah, like once I detailed like what my future husband qualities were, you kind of know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying this one is the one, you know, he has great qualities, you know, there's still things to be seen or whatnot, but I do have an idea of what it is that the one would encompass, and it's nothing superficial, you know,
Yes.
it's nothing,
Yes.
you know, yeah, great. Okay, you're attractive. And then what? You know, don't get me wrong, we all want to be attracted to somebody, but attraction comes in different forms, you
Yes.
know. It's not just like the aesthetics, you know. Eventually I'm going to be older, you know. Like, I mean,
Right.
I'm going to be a good looking older woman, but I'm still going to be older, you know. Like,
Yes.
I'm not the 20, I don't want to say 20 because I actually had a glow up in my 30s. You know what? You don't want to see me.
Hey now.
You don't want to see me in my 20s. Like, I'm winning right now.
I feel like that 20s ain't got nothing on the 30 face.
Listen,
I'm
when they
sorry.
say I wasn't ugly, I was broke. That's
we,
all that was. That's all my
we
20s.
all been there. We all been
I look like the
there.
struggle I was in.
Amen. Amen.
So yeah, now that we are living in the season of abundance, you know, we
Yes.
prepare for ourselves a little differently. So yeah, being able to have an ideal of what it is that you want in a person, very clearly. You have to, again, it starts with knowing who you are as a person, and it's going to be a lot easier to navigate who your person is, because you're gonna know, and you're gonna be able to cut people off. I have no problem cutting people off now. I did before. I was like, oh, I don't know how to, and nope. No, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Okay. I cut people off like they owe me money.
That's healthy. That's
Yeah,
healthy.
it is.
Oh, Shanika, I love it. I love it. I love it. Just pivotal points and knowing who you are, where you came from to get to the healthy woman of God that you are today. Awesome. And one of the things, sis, that I love, and yeah, Shanika's gonna give out all her social media handles. Y'all gotta check it out. But a quote that you said, and I think especially to our like single women that are waiting, and this quote was a pivotal. And you said God doesn't give you what you want, not because you don't deserve it, but you deserve more. Shanika, what does that quote mean to you? Why did you feel that it was so important to go ahead and post? There's so many quotes, right? So many things you can put, but why was that so pivotal to put on your Instagram account?
Yeah, I think because, you know, oftentimes we think that we're being punished, you know, we're being punished for something. Maybe I should have been with that nice guy several years ago. You know, God is punishing me for, you know, not taking that opportunity, you know, or we just feel like we're not worthy, you know, like we it's that rejection. We feel like, wow, like, why haven't I found somebody yet? It must be me. And it's like, no, like God is like pruning you so that
Yeah.
you are in such a great space to receive the fruit that you deserve. Like, it is not a punishment, you know, and you're going to be like, this is why nobody else, like, it's going to be so clear to you. Like, this is why it didn't work out with anybody else, because God didn't want me to struggle. God didn't want me to continue having heartbreak. God didn't want me to be depressed about the fact that, like, I still haven't found a person despite all the great qualities that I brought to the table. And so to me, that's why that quote really stood out to me. That's why it's something I continue to go back to when I'm in a season of waiting, you know, to remember, like, no, like, God knows that I deserve more. So why would he give me less? Why would he give me less? You know, like, no, he's going to give the best. And all these things that we think are, you know, our struggles and challenges, all that is just like things that sharpened us, that prepared us to be the warriors, you know, that we are actually, you know, when we go, because it's a battlefield out here. In this game of love, it is a battlefield. And there is just a lot of just spears that come at you, you know, that are meant to break you down and weaken you. But, you know, faith is your shield.
Yes,
Faith is
it
the thing
is.
that guides you. So every time you think, man, I thought that was the one. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I woke up without even thinking about it. And there was like a voice in my ear that said there's protection and rejection. And I didn't even know what had happened. And next thing I know, I'm not getting calls back, or, for whatever reason, that person just fell off. I was like, dang, why do I keep hearing this protection and rejection thing? But that's what it is. That I'm being protected from something,
Yes.
for me. So yeah, it's not always, we did something wrong, God just wants to make sure that we get it right.
Right. I love it. I love it. But shout out too for all the beautiful single women, because I know a lot. And as I'm going through that process, but I love that because you do deserve more. And you said, Shanika, knowing your worth is so important. It's okay to say, I'm not going to take the last thing. You should never settle for less than God has told you to settle for. And I also like the Bridesmaids movie. If y'all want to check that out, awesome movie. And the title of it was Your Delay Is Not Your Denial.
Yes.
And that's why it's important for us not to compare, but I always say this: trust God's process, and everything else will come up. So Shanika, thank you. I had to mention that because I know so many people and women can relate to that. And Shanika, you have all these wonderful titles: God-fearing woman, you are abundant mother, you are a digital creator, a therapist, relationships coach. You are in school right now. Tell our awesome healthy relationship audience who you are and what got you started on this amazing empowerment path of love and relationships.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, it really just had to do with like my own personal struggles and realizing that, there's so many people that are hurting, to be loved. And, we've had relationships, but what was the quality of those relationships? If as single women, if we really did want to be with somebody, we could be with somebody, you know what I mean? But would that person be healthy for us? We know that. So it's okay to wait, it's okay to not feel, don't be pressured by family member. You still ain't found a man. You still ain't found a woman. Like, it's okay to not feel pressured to get into something that's going to be ultimately unhealthy for you. Your mental well-being is worth significantly more. So as for me, I became a therapist, just based upon my own family dynamics. I had very unhealthy dynamics growing up. And I really wanted to understand like why people do the things that they do, and why, people have like the mental struggles that they have. So that came naturally. The relationship stuff came really just more of last year as I was going through like my own dating journey and realizing that my experiences could help people. I knew that I could help them as a therapist, but I was like, no, I need something a little more personal, outside of just the therapeutic office space. So that's why I created my platform, and it's grown, just within that short period of time. I'm like really pleased with the growth, and the people that engage with me are genuine people that like, they ask me questions, they'll check how's your dating life going. So I definitely have, people rooting for me, as I for myself, I'm jumping back into my dating series because I took a hiatus because truthfully, I was depressed, the middle of last year. I was so sad about not finding a person, and the people that I had going on dates, I'm like, this is the dating pool. This is the quality of people out here. This is depressing. And it was. And so what I ended up doing is like really focusing back on myself. And that's really honestly what drove me to pursue my PhD, because I was so focused on like, man, I want to find somebody. You know what? Let me find myself first. Let me find myself first. Let me pour into myself. And I was in therapy at the time. And when I remember I told my therapist I was going back to school, we were concluding therapy at that point because I was in a really good space. And when I told her I was going back to school to get my PhD, and she's a doctor too, she said, that is the best thing that I have heard all year from you. She's like, don't get me wrong, like you made a lot of progress. She said, I have full faith that you are going to do amazing things. And as a doctor, she's like, and this makes sense, to pour into yourself. And so like just the affirmation, that now I do get to genuinely enjoy my own personal journey. And whenever I find whoever I find, along the way, that person's not going to be jaded by the fact that I'm pursuing a doctorate degree. They're not going to feel like that we're in competition, because that happens too. They're going to genuinely be supportive. They're going to be understanding. And if I'm not available, they're not going to take it personal. So being able to know that I still do desire a person. I don't have to wait till I finish my doctorate to find that person. I just need to make sure that whoever I'm with is going to be conducive, to my journey that I'm already on, that's going to benefit my family. So I'm a current PhD student. My PhD is going to be couples and family therapy. And the reason why I selected that one is because as a therapist, 9 years now, most of the time when people come to see me, they're dealing with some type of family issue or some type of relationship issue. And even if they're dealing with a work issue, that's still a system at the end of the day. So couples and family therapy is about systems work. And so that made sense to me, especially as I was already doing my online dating series on Instagram. I'm like, this just further, solidifies what I'm going to be, my expertise level, not just coaching, from my own personal experience, but now there's research and stuff behind it. So I had just finished my first semester in December, and my research topic that I'm going to be focusing on is understanding why, drum roll please, understanding why Black women are disproportionately single compared to other race and ethnicities. And it's not even by a little, it's by a lot. And there's a reason why, and I want to understand why, and I want to help move us forward in that space as far as, being partners, having partners, having families, we are strong, independent women, and that is fantastic. But we also deserve to have families. We deserve to have partners, men, women, whoever our partner selection may be, but we deserve to have partners, and we just significantly don't. We get married at the lowest rate and we get divorced at the highest rate. And that is where I'm trying to understand like what's driving those factors. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's needed, and you're going to inspire and help so many. Let's close that gap.
Yeah. Seriously.
Shanika, with all this goodness, what are all the social media platforms that our lovely, healthy audience can connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm Shanika Show across the board. Instagram, Shanika_show, Facebook, Shanika Show Together, YouTube, Shanika Show Together. If you just Google Shanika, SHANIKA, show, SHOW, you'll find me. I'm not hard to find. If you Google Shanika Torres, SHANIKA, last name TORRES, I'm not hard to find. It's just not a whole lot of people, so you'll find me.
Our healthy relationship audience, go check out Shanika. She has awesome content. She's honest, talks about relationship, and she interprets her personal life. You see her working out. With just that alone, that inspires you to go to the gym. So go check her out. And Shanika, it's a new 2023.
It is.
What is a seed that you want to plant with our audience for the new year to take with them so they can water it and create the healing individual that they are?
My every year I choose a motto that guides my life for that year. Last year it was Success 2022, and so the seed that I would like to sow for you guys or plant for you guys is take it as you will. May it be your motto for the year as well. But the time is now. The time is now, not tomorrow, not 6 months from now, not 3 months from now. The time is now. So the time is now to get the healing that you deserve. The time is now to, go back to school if that's what you want. The time is now to, repair those broken relationships. The time is now.
I love it, because we're in the season where we're not promised to even the next second. So go after your dreams, your visions, whatever it is. I love it. audience, come on now. Y'all heard Shanika.
Give me my little air snaps. My little poetry snaps.
Now. Oh, I mean, Shanika, I want to thank you so much, beautiful woman of God, for showing up as your authentic self.
I appreciate you, sis. I really do. This is the second platform this year, and I've just been really more intentional about like getting out, speaking. When requested to, like the time is now. Like
yes.
Oh, well, maybe I could do it tomorrow. I'm like, no. When you said like let's do it, I'm like, okay, let's go, because truthfully, I don't know who my message is going to touch, and that's where I'm at. I want to reach as many people as possible, to get the healing, to know that there are, options available. They're not alone. We all struggle with finding companionship. Even those that are most qualified, to on paper, right? It's like you look good. You're like, okay, well, why are you single? Like I'm trying to figure it out. No, I'm not settling. That's what it boils down to. So yeah, like I appreciate you allowing me on your platform and your audience. I appreciate your time, you guys' time. Hopefully you learned something, one or two things. Ways.
Oh, thank you so much, sis. I'm praying for you and sending in abundance of blessings for your brand, your business, your schooling, your dating, your kids, your daughter. It's a new year. The time is now. So sending that away here now. And oh man, thank you so much. And our healthy relationship audience, thank you for joining me, Life Coach Miss Starr and Shanika, for this episode, flipping the script to create healthy relationships. And y'all know me, I'm Life Coach Miss Starr. You can catch me on all major social media platforms and right here at 7 p.m. every Tuesday on Red Media Radio. We thank you so much. We pray this message resonates with you. You feel therapeutic, and we want to say God bless.
God bless.
And for everybody on YouTube, Shanika's information will be linked down below. So go follow her. And this has just been awesome. We are sending an abundance of blessings your way.
Receiving it. I'm receiving it. Yes.